teacher instructor Joy. This video will be an answer to a subscriber. This violinist was wondering how one could know what part of bow to use and when. Very good question. So before I go into that, I would like to thank you all for your kind support here and also in my Patreon page. I really appreciate your kind comments, questions, booking lessons with me, encouraging words that you've been sending me. I really appreciate. I also encourage you to check out my Patreon page, which is in the description below. I'll be posting some exercises that you could do simply in just for a couple minutes a day. The video will be posted in this coming Thursday. Okay, let's understand how bow works. When you look at the bow, this part, which we call the frog, that has a lot of parts, which means it makes the bow very heavy. Here is barely anything, just thin stick, which we call it tip. So because there's anything there other than just thin stick, it's very light, which means if we use the bow near frog, it makes loud tone. Whereas when we use near a tip, it makes soft tone. So if we want to use a forte, loud sound, would be well advised to use near the frog. And as you guessed it, if you want to play piano, then it's a good idea to stay near the tip. That's one way. Also, often the first note of each measure, in classical music for sure, first note of each measure is the strongest beat. So we like to often use down bow for the first note at each measure for that reason. Okay, now how about if we do a lot of fast running notes? Even whether it's a separate bow or slur. How do we do that? So, just like if you want to go fast, it's better when you dress lightly, put light shoes, almost light bag or no bag preferred. It's easier to run fast. Same thing goes. So this heavier part, even though it is possible you could do that, but it takes much more effort because it's a heavier part. So the lighter part here, tip, it works very well when it's very fast. But when it's fast running like that, we don't always use tip. Sometimes we use in the middle part of the bow. The reason being is if you have a string crossings, I'll get that one very soon. So let's first talk about, so fast runs, it's better to use lighter part of bow, which is tip. And middle part is not quite there yet, but it's light enough. So we use from the middle to the tip, which we call upper half. But you're saying, but when I play these fast notes, fast D major scale, I play it rather in the middle than the tip. How do we choose between tip and the middle when it comes to fast running passages? So when there's a string crossings, which means involving different strings, there's something that we have to work on the height of the right arm. So now, for each string, we have to lower it like this, A, D, and G. Now, in the middle part of the bow, if I want to go from D to A, I just have to lower a tiny bit. But if I use the tip, the degree of A and D becomes greater, you see? That is why if I have to do fast run that involves different strings, it's better to use middle part of the bow where I don't have to adjust the height of right arm too much, versus where I'm doing at the tip, the height of elbow is much greater. It's possible, but because I have to move greater part with my right arm, it slows me down. So that's why when it's fast run, but it involves multiple strings, it's well advised to use middle part of the bow, which are still light part of the bow, and then we minimize the right arm moving too much. Okay? Alright. Then next one, multiple down bow stroke. So now, sometimes we have to retake, or sometimes we just have to do a couple down bow. Yeah? So often, as you guessed it, it's easy to do near the frog because first course it gives nicer bite and it plays easier. I could do that near the tip, but my hands are so far away, it's hard to control and it sometimes bounces. Similar thing happens, it's possible to do in the middle, but because my hand is far away to the contact point, I don't have much control. So by bringing my hand to close as possible to the contact point, I have the most control. And often, multiple down bow strokes are used for also quite loud and strong passages. Yeah. So of course there are more ideas why one choose certain bow strokes and what part of the bow, but this is a general idea that you can rely on and then experiment yourself a little. Also, this is very general idea, but also each bow plays a bit differently, even though these general ideas should work for most bows. But try yourself. Sometimes not quite middle, but a little lower than lower half the middle, or a little upper half from the middle, that might work better for you too. That's something that you have to try and then see what works best for you. Yeah, I hope this video was helpful. Thank you for watching and hope to see you again. Bye bye.